Welcome to the start of another work week. Hold on 1 second here while I get you my monitor. So it's looking as though the market opened to a big gap higher. Well, relatively big gap higher, I suppose. Let's take a look here on the Eagle. We'll get a real quick overview of where we left off last week. Down here, that's where the market closed, around the 41.60 mark. London open, nice little gap higher and a little bit of a rally. So this is going to look like an opening gap down here. And whenever you see opening gaps, it's always, in the back of your mind that the market's going to want to get into that gap. Traders do try to test those gaps. In fact, it's such a phenomenon that very often the market traders will just blindly start selling if they see the market open as it did here, around 4,200, 4,201, and they know the market left off around 4160, they're just going to start selling. Just sell and hope it heads lower. In fact, here we can simulate that. We're getting a signal here on the Raptor. You can see we're looking to, well, actually, we produced a trend change signal right here. Now we're getting the cloud crossover. Normally what I do is I let the first 10 or 20 minutes or 10 or 15 minutes just expire so the market can get its legs and try to get some direction. Well, I thought for a moment there that they were going to take a bit of a nosedive, but not yet. Here's an interesting phenomenon that some of you may not have considered as well, is that when the market opens like this, and we see these gaps down here, and you're only going to see these gaps if you're not watching the 24/7 session. If you're only watching the day session, the regular trading hours, you have to remember that there was actually trading going on here, right? There were actually bars in here. So this is a very bullish move for the most part. Even though the markets like to try to get into gaps, you have to remember this was a pretty strong bullish move higher. All right, so we are getting our sell signal, kind of our cloud crossover. We do have the opportunity to take this one on a second push, which I would certainly recommend. The second push is simply letting the market engage the signal and then look for this bar right here so that you know the extent of the buyers and sellers rather than get in too early. You know how I'd like to tell you that most breakouts don't work out, most breakouts fail. That's why if we have a sideways trading range, we're always looking for the market to break out of that trading range, retest it, and then come back with a signal. And it's the same thing happening down here. We've established a trading range. We don't necessarily want to be there on the first breakout, and you can see why. A lot of traders just got trapped on that first breakout. Okay, we're going to close that order out because now it looks as though the buyers have shown up And they're continuing to push that market higher. Oh, good morning, Jim. And Jim's supplying us with some advanced decline numbers here. So it looks like we've got 2450 on the buy and just under 300 on the sell. So overall, things fairly bullish, but don't forget, we have that opening gap, right? So that's going to skew those types of numbers a little bit. We may actually just end up going sideways. See, now we're at the top end of the trading range. Market made a big move up. Here, let's take a look here on the hawk. So a pre-market first micro-macro cross here came down. Macro pullback signal, which did work out, but then the market abruptly reversed. Now we're kind of testing the top end here. It is a first micro-macro cross. I would probably, 1, 2, 3, I'll probably give up the 3 ticks. The problem with this one is risking it, right? Where do I cover this trade? If this market is in fact going to go sideways on us today, I don't want to get into here too early. So here we've got another signal, another warning dot, but rather than take it on the hash mark, which is going to print right there, I'll take it above the high of this candle right here, above that wick. Because this is where I know the sellers have forced the market down, right? This candle went up, and then the sellers jumped on it. Well, they're trying. 4210 looks like it's a little bit of a stumbling block here for the NASDAQ this morning. Okay, good to know. Jim says the bank index, the transports, and the Russell all pushing higher. Well, here's hoping the NASDAQ follows through on that. Still working that first micro-macro cross signal. Looking for it to engage and at least get to our first profit target. All right, so there they go. Let's see if there's some follow through here now. Obviously, there's some strong selling there. Okay, we're through 42.11, so the trade should at least get to our break-even trigger. I'm doing my best to be patient with the market and not get too quick with my stops. Come on, buyers. Gold is looking a little bit more bullish. That could be weighing on the market somewhat. Here's gold, and it's seesawing a little bit in a little bit of a sideways range, but we are working on a first macro cross here in gold also. Let's see, did it sync up? No, actually the signal printed when the macro line was still gray, so it's not a fully completed signal. But of course, gold and the stock market tends to have an inverse relationship. So if gold is heading higher, chances are pretty good that the stock market's going to head lower. All right, now we're working on a first macro cross signal. We've got the warning dot. Everything is in sync. We've got this little itty bitty swing low we can cover underneath. So I do try to trade the markets separate of each other, but there's also, some correlations that you have to consider. Okay, here on our hawk trade, you see how the buyers have come in? That kind of tells me that this is where the buyers are going to hold the market. So that's probably time to start pulling my stops in a little bit tighter. And in fact, at this point, I usually start to roll my stop more aggressively. But not to worry, we did hit our profit objective. Hooray for us. Also getting a red bar buy signal here off of the eagle, and we're coming back with a with trend signal also. This is a little bit riskier because it's, oops, it would have been nice to buy this off of this red bar buy. This would have been approximately, let's see, 42.04. No, actually, that's a little bit later than we ended up with our hawk signal. All right, here they go. They're going to hopefully try to get here to the top end of this trading range. Come on, buyers. Trend mode currently suggested, but only for about another minute. I think the modes are moving rather quickly here right now as the market kind of settles in a little bit. It is first thing Monday morning, of course. And the advanced decline looking a little bit stronger still. Jim says 2,500 on the buy, 300 on the sell, so a little bit stronger. Come on, don't stop now. So we've got some sellers coming into the market now, defending these highs. We can anticipate, there's going to be a little bit of a reaction here. And we'll be looking for the buyers to come in here now and push this market higher still. So the good news is that according to Trade Forecaster, we're in swing mode for about 10 minutes time, after which we're going to move back into trend mode. So hopefully that's going to hold. Let's see what's going on here with the Geiger counter on the Raptor, and you can see we had that big block of buying go through. It looks like the sellers pretty much absorbed it. Now we'd really like to see them come back here one more time. So gold on the hawk and just engaged our buy order as the NQ is tailing off. So looking for a little bit of a scalp here. And the Geiger counter still fairly evenly balanced, a little bit, according to the needle anyways, a little bit more to the sell side at the moment. Okay, I'm going to take that gold trade to break even now. If you're following along on gold, the NASDAQ trying to rally once again, so that's going to weigh on gold somewhat. And gold just hovering below our break-even, or pardon me, our break-even trigger. Oh, there we go. All right. So that was gold on the hawk. Took a little bit of a move to the upside on a quick little scalp. And the NASDAQ trying to get some footing. All right, we also produced a signal here on the Raptor, right here off of the hard edge. Nice little bounce, a little bit of a break higher. We could take this one on a second push, just above the current high. Come on. Another little block of buying going through there. Sellers really trying to knock them down, trying to establish a trading range here, I think. 42.10 is going to be the big number today, I think. Because whenever the market gets down near 42.10, you see how the buyers push it up? Got back down near 42.10, buyers pushed it up with a really good push. And here they are trying to get back down to 42.10 again. We'll see whether the buyers manage to press it one more time. if they're starting to get a little bit tired. Probably time. Well, you know what? I'm going to be ultra conservative with my stop today. I'll use my break-even trigger, but unless I see a more pronounced swing through here, I'm going to try to hold my stop just where it is. Crude oil making a nice little move higher. We didn't get a real clean signal. Here's the ego on crude oil. Just kind of shows you since the overnight where the market left off on Friday. Nice little rally here. Crude oil open, produced a buy signal. Actually, I think the hawk is the one that illustrates it the best. 1 second, I'll bring the hawk over here. So crude oil opens here, comes down, nice little macro pullback. Great response to that. Just an ultra smooth progression in the overnight. Okay, so we're going to be looking for the buyers to come back into this market now. As we get closer to this hard edge, looking for some buying support. Right back down to that whole 42.10 area that we were looking at before. Overall, the market's fairly neutral right now. You'd see it's drifting more or less sideways. Really like to see them take out this high here. Trade around 42.20. Excuse me. If they fail here at 42.20 on this push, I'm going to bring my stops in. Because what that's going to tell me is that the buyers are not really in control anymore. Okay, so here we go. 42.17 quarter. Let's see if how they make a run at 42.20. Come on. 18.5, 18.75, 42.19, 42.19 half I saw. Come on. There we go. So 42.20, I think we're going to be in the clear here. In fact, I'm going to, I said I was going to be more conservative with my stop. Sometimes I really do just need to leave the room so I don't tweak myself out of a perfectly good trade. Now we're contending with the highs, you see right here. Jim says the DAX is trying to sell off. I could maybe put a wrinkle in our trade. Come on, there we go. Okay, so we've got the break-even trigger. A couple more ticks here, and we'll be at our target. Whew, boy, that was hard work. And we can cancel that trade there. Now we're starting to introduce some yellow bars here now on the hawk. See how we're drifting a little bit more sideways. We're getting some yellow bars going on. The macro pullback signal, we might get one more push higher. Come on, you buyers. All right, so the buyer's putting in another press here on the Raptor. I'm also watching, pardon me, also watching gold and crude just to see that they are in sync with what's going on in the NASDAQ. You know, gold is starting to tail off a little bit, which would support the NQ heading higher. But I have to admit the pace seems to be slowing somewhat. Are we at the top of the hour? Yes, that's probably why. That first half hour of trading, the top of the hour is often where we will see the buyers or sellers put in their limits for the day. In this case, we might have exhausted the buying. I'm using air quotes when I say that because here they go. So technically, this is a first micro macro cross that we have here on the Hawk. Notice, even though the trend lines didn't cross, everything went out of sync. Our trend lines are out of sync, our bar colors out of sync, our filter went out of sync. This is the first signal where everything comes back into sync. Now, I'd probably take it above the high, and I probably would try to risk it down here. Because to take it above the high, I only need to give up one extra tick. And we had a corresponding late filter entry signal here on the Falcon. How are we doing compared to our support and resistance lines? Oh, a very nice bounce off of the secondary resistance there, went all the way up to that resistance line. Now we're taking another bounce off of a secondary resistance line. It looks like the market may climb there to 42.34.5. Looks as though we would have hit our break-even trigger there. Had I taken it right on the hash mark, we would have also hit the profit objective. Jim says the DAX is still pushing higher, so we'll see. Not a bad morning for the most part. Very heavy volume near these highs. It's very suggestive that the market may be topping out just for the moment. We know the sellers got a lot more aggressive right around here, right? And you can see it on all your tools. Here on your hawk, started to interject a lot more yellow bars. A little bit of a sideways range here going on the eagle. I think it's definitely a buyer's market today, though. We have seen the market pay off very well to the upside on a couple of our positions there. And while we may see a pullback, see, we're starting to, again, with the hawk here. The hawk's going to tell us early. A lot more yellow bars coming in here. If we get a red bar buy, I may look at shorting it. All right, so there's the red bar buy. I'll look to sell it, and we'll cover it up here. And the reason I'm covering above the high is because if we get another retest of these highs, I don't want to have my stops too close. Just a reminder, everyone, I'm sure you've gotten the notices when you log on to your NinjaTrader, but there is a mandatory update required on your NinjaTrader. So if you haven't done so already, you need to do so before the end of the month, before the end of this week. Come on, get down there. Ooh, we got our, darn it, got our break-even stop. I was just about to nix that break-even trigger. Jim shorted the YM at 80. And it looks like we might be getting a first micro-macro cross signal here also. Let's see what's going on with the rest of our tools. The Falcon also working on a trend change. Okay, working on the first micro-macro cross. Those yellow bars don't count on the hawk though. We need to see everything in sync. It is still interesting though that the way the signal is shaping up. All right, so we've got the warning dot here. We're working on a possible soft edge sell here on the Raptor. Now remember, the soft edge sell occurs when we get, you could have actually considered this a soft edge sell here because we did get a little itty bitty retest of the highs. We'll see if we get a soft edge sell here. I'll punch in a sell signal. And at the very least, we would anticipate it to get down here to the hard edge. Look at where the struggle is occurring again, though, right? Right here at this whole 42.90 area. Same place as before. Okay, so there's the warning dot. And there's the sell signal, and there's the trigger. All right, so I could have placed the sell signal here below the low. That would perhaps have been a little bit safer. But hey, you know me. Since when do I do things the safe way? All right, so I'm going to throw a stop in above the high, and I'm going to hold it there, at least until I get a little bit of room. Ken, oh, congrats, Ken. Ken says, I bought a new computer. How do I get the transfers and the updates? I'm going to have to shoot you Ben's email address here, Ken, because that is a little bit out of my realm of expertise. And Ben's email is support@indicatorwarehouse.com. Oh, Todd. I feel your pain, buddy. Todd says, Eric, I upgraded to Windows 10 and now my DTS popped up a window about my machine ID. Charts are not working. Contact Ben, same thing. Support at indicatorwarehouse.com. Ben will fix you up. It's for those of you who read my rant. I don't do a lot of rants, but I had to do a rant last week on Windows 10 on my laptop. You know, it's one thing for the world's largest software company to provide an operating system for your computer, but when they start hijacking your computer, getting it to work for them instead of for you, that's just going too far. And that's the exact thing that I'm finding with Windows 10. I've still got Windows 7 on my desktop, and there's no way I'm going to upgrade that. Here on the Geiger counter, note the huge selling spike, and the buyers totally unable to absorb it, and down they go. No doubt this was a lot of buy stop orders or buyers exit orders, I should say. They're actually sell stop orders. But as buyers were trying to buy, assuming that the market was making a range here around this whole 4220 region, and then the sellers just kind of squashed them. Well, yes, Todd says at some point you have to upgrade. Yes, that's true when I buy a new computer. That's really when I end up having to make the upgrade. And that was the deal with the laptop. I bought a new laptop and it came preloaded with Windows 10. But Windows 10 is a fantastic advertisement for Apple. Well, Todd says I'm kicking myself. Don't worry, Todd. Ben will sort it out for you. Just get a hold of Ben. I found, normally the progression from one operating system to another is fairly logical. Windows 98 and Windows XP and Windows 7 and all the ones in between, Vista and when everything else that wasn't so hot. But there was a natural progression in how the operating systems worked until you hit Windows 8. All of a sudden, somebody thought that we're all stupid and we don't know how a start menu works anymore, and we should put tiles on our windows and have things blink and flash, and like we're all 19 years old. Yeah, I'm with you, Mo. Mo says I've got Windows XP and Windows 7 and no one is getting those from me. And the thing that I think truly annoys me, and you see this with automotive manufacturers all the time, Windows XP and Windows 7 are probably at least in my experience, the two most stable Windows platforms I've ever worked with. I don't think I've ever crashed my Windows 7, and I rarely had a Windows XP lockup. And I'm not saying that Windows 10 locks up. It doesn't do that. But why do I have to relearn how to use something? And the same thing in the automotive field. For those of you who tinker around with cars a little bit, they built fantastic engines for 40, 50 years ago. Chevy with their 283 and their 327s. And the 350 is a great engine for a pickup truck, but you hardly need it for a car unless it's a Corvette. and then they got to go do something like, a 427 and a 454. I had a 4 pickup truck with a 390 in it. Pass everything on the road but a service station. All right, so it looks like we might be getting a little bit of a trading range developing now. Yeah, see, Jim knows what I'm talking about. He says he's got a 97 F250 Power Stroke diesel, 360,000 K, and he burns veggie oil. They know how to build good engines, and yet why do they refuse to build good engines? I would rather Microsoft, those programmers who are trying to justify their existence, would figure out a way to keep hackers out of my computer. Not that they hack my computer. I have nothing to steal. Unless somebody's trying to get at my DTS system. I'm no fan of Bill Gates. Not that I know the man or anything, but just, the way that Windows was always more or less a monopoly in the operating system. But ever since Bill Gates has walked away from the helm at Microsoft, I care for Microsoft even less. Oh well, what are we going to do, right? Ah, way to go, Mike. Michael says, I've tweaked my Windows 10 to look exactly like Windows 7, so I know it's possible to do. And actually, while we're waiting for the next signal here, I'm going to share a link with you that Adam sent my way. Let's see if I can find it here. There is a link. I haven't looked at it yet. Where did you go? Sent it to me a little while ago because I was complaining. Anyways, there's a link. I'll find it here in a moment. That it's a little go between. I think it's like $5 or something. It's dirt cheap, and it will make your Windows 10 look like Windows 7 and run like Windows 7. Getting a little bit of sideways action here now, so not to worry. We're not missing much. You know an operating system is bad when there's actually demand for a product like this. Oh well, I can't find it right now. I know it's around here somewhere. Okay, can't find it. I'll have to write him again for it. Yeah, just kind of going sideways here at the moment, folks. I suspect we're going to see one more move lower. It's just we're kind of got this trading range going on. See, kind of like this. And we broke out, and now we're looking for support to come out of this trading range. And we could certainly look to buy this. We could look to buy it and hope to get a bit of a test of the extreme here. This is a trade I probably would just throw a onesie on and try to keep my stop ultra tight, because chances are that it's going to try to turn here and get back inside this trading range. See, this breakout was not very convincing. Here, we'll do it. We've got nothing else going on. So we'll throw a onesie on there. We'll keep the stops really tight. It actually never triggered, and now we're moving away from it. But that's how I might approach that one. I don't think I'd go in for the whole enchilada type deal. Yeah, Ryman, you're absolutely right. Ryman said, I heard that Windows is going to automatic update update to Windows 10. I changed my settings to update when I'm ready. There's a little, Adam actually years ago used to do, many years ago, used to do tech support on computers as well. And he told me that you don't need to update your computer that often. And if your computer works now, it will continue to work this way without the updates. Everybody thinks we need these updates on our computers. And granted, some are security updates, patches to firewalls and stuff like that. But for the most part, there's not that much going on with the updates. So I've turned my updates off, which was an option that was still available in Windows 7. It's no longer an option in Windows 10. There is a workaround that and it's easy to find. Just Google it. Turn off updates in Windows 10, and you'll find a workaround. But it should be our option, right? It's our computer. If I don't want to update the thing, why is it, Microsoft's responsibility to say, hey, you need to upgrade your computer? No. I don't know. I suppose I just hate being told what to do. That's really what it amounts to. And, if something doesn't work, well then, okay, it's my fault and I'll take responsibility for it. Jim said, how about shooting a trend line across the bottoms there? And it's looking as though we're seeing a little bit of a breach. Perhaps this is the first bearish push from the market. Again, I'm not going to get too crazy on the sell side here, because this market is obviously very strong, or was very strong. Right now we're dead flat. You can see just tons of yellow bars through here, all more or less the same latitude. Yeah, I'm with you, Todd. Todd says we're talking engines now. We're not trading. We're talking engines. He says the 283 and the 327, best Chevy motors. I also like my Corvette ZR1 motor. My dad has a 1966 Chevelle with a 283. He bought it brand new. My brothers fully restored it. So the thing was always in good shape. But I remember driving that when I was learning to drive, and everybody always wanted to race me. It was a fun car to drive. All right. Yes, you're right. Jim says crude oil is starting to poke a little bit higher, and there was a nice little first micro macro cross here in crude, or pardon me, macro pullback right here. Obviously, this was the macro pullback we were looking at earlier. But look at the progression. So crude oil made, a nice strong move here, reasonably strong move here. But look at how we're starting to drift a little bit. I'm not saying crude oil can't go higher from here, but we've gone from trending to channeling a little bit. All right, so they're trying to press here to the upside. I said I was going to demo this, didn't I? So let's see if I can still get in on that. I'm going to try to take it here and here. Let's see if they'll pull back enough that I can get, I could have just thrown a limit order on it. Let's do that. I'm not suggesting you do this. I'm just doing this for the sake of the room to demo it. All right, so what we're doing is I'm demonstrating what it would have been like to buy this little push up. Now, I'm only going in with a onesie, and I'm keeping my stop very tight, as you can see. And I'm actually going to roll bar for bar as it starts to advance, or if it advances. And this is why I think, we want to look at just keeping everything really, really tight through here. Because if this fails, it's probably going to head lower. Okay, and you can see we're actually going to produce a rule of three type signal here in a moment. And honestly, I've got somebody commenting here, Eric, didn't you take that trade too early because the ATR? Yes, absolutely. I was just showing you here in the, what we might have been anticipating. It was totally against the ATR. Normally, we wait for the ATR to turn over and come into sync. Be interesting to see whether or not they're actually able to ride this out. And again, we're just kind of goofing around here a little bit. This isn't really a quality trade. Not yet, anyway. And here we are, this whole 42.20 area just giving us a little bit of grief. Just nursing that a little. Curtis asking, I missed the link on the Windows 7 lookalike. Um, I didn't have time to find it, Curtis. I went back through some of the uh, text that Adam had sent me, but if you just do a Google search, make Windows 10 look like Windows 7, you'll get a lot of good information there. Or you can always always just write Adam. I'm sure he's got it there somewhere. Come on, get up there. Kind of nursing this trade a little bit. And Jim says we got 2,500 on the buy and 400 on the sell. Decliners are growing a bit. Yeah, I fully suspect we are going to see the market reverse here somewhat. Hoping to get one more little push higher. Just to get the trade into the black. I would, probably, delete the break even and just look at taking profit. There's 5 points right there. So just look more of a scalp type scenario here, as the market obviously is beginning to lose some of its earlier insanely bullish momentum. All right, there they go. Come on, get up there. Come on, just give me one more poke at 42.20. No, they're not going to do it. The scoundrels. Going to make a run here to the downside now. Here comes our rule of 3 signal. And they're going to tap me out here in just a moment. So we really need to see the buyers come back here off of this whole 42.12 area. And if they fail, well, we're going to see them. Yeah, so here comes that rule of 3 style signal. Let's see, are we getting a crossover? Yes, we are. So we're working a first micro macro cross lower here. We're going to get a cloud crossover on the Raptor, and we're working on a possible trend change signal. Oh, actually, we did get the trend change signal here on the Falcon. Now, what you could do is you could take it below the lows, cover above the highs. And what we're looking for here is just looking for the market to find some support. So the trend change signal occurs when the trend line changes here from green to red. We've got that push down that changes the trend line. Here's the reaction from the buyers, and here come the sellers suggesting that they're going to take control of the market. Everything is in sync. Filter, bars, signal, trend line, the whole schmear. Better placement for that stop, by the way, is above the highs. And I rarely do this where I've got one bird long and I'm looking to short the other one. Oh, fantastic, Todd. Glad to hear it, he says. Ben's already taking care of his machine ID. Well, you know, the more I watch this, the more I'm thinking sideways range. Let the market get outside of the range. See that breakout, that retest, or the breakout, the retest. That's actually the safer course of action here. So long as we're trading within here, it's going to be pretty tough slogging. We'll give it a few more minutes, but if things don't start to loosen up here a little bit. Are we waiting on a report? I didn't think there were any reports out today. Just checking the reports calendar. No, nothing important that I can see. Well, it could be the lack of reports. The lack of reports is causing the market to be rather dismal. Jim says the DAX is starting to look a little bit more bullish, at least on a 3-minute chart. All right, so here comes the Falcon again. Kind of confirming that signal that we saw earlier. And really, there's no point in getting involved until we get outside of this range. I'm not a big fan of selling the bottom end of the trading range because we'll very often see the market retreat to the top end of the trading range. And our warning dots are waffling back and forth here. Yeah, that's right. Jim says you got to use your mouse to push it higher. Okay, let's work it. Here we go. Get up there. Come on. Get a little action going. Come on. A little tickle. No, we're just dead flat. We may have seen the move of the day. This action right here. Right out of the gate. That first half-hour rally. Oh, gotta nudge it a little higher. Come on, get going. Oh, I have a bad feeling they're going to tap me here in a sec. I'm liking the Falcon trade more than that Eagle trade. That Eagle trade, we were kind of goofing around a little bit. The Falcon trade, if you're really desperate for a trade, should work. And now I'm using air quotes when I say should work. Where's our next support line? All the way down here to 41.98. I'm not sure it's going to, well, it could. Could certainly go to 41.98. I might not be that aggressive on the short side. I'd be perfectly happy to get my profit objective. See, when the momentum is this slow, we don't always get that follow through on a breakout either. All right, let's see. The sellers at the moment seem to have a little bit more control, in my opinion. We saw them push down here. Very small reaction on the part of the buyers, especially given that rally that we saw, out of the open. It's hardly a response, but I don't know, maybe the buyers don't see the sellers as being that much of a threat here at the moment. right, so there we go. And now what we're looking for is we're looking for some follow through. We're looking for the buyers that were busy buying here, for them to get trapped out of their positions, and hopefully those will all be sell signals or sell orders, and hopefully that will be enough to get us to our profit objective. Come on, get down there. Come on. So we've got our break even. All right. Hooray for us. Whew, that took a while. All right, you guys, I think we're going to close up shop for the day. We saw some decent moves, had to wait for a couple of them, but hopefully tomorrow it'll loosen up a little bit. And I will see you guys then, bright and early. We'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.